Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Uh, Nice to speak to you again. Uh, the organizer, and surely the chairman and his team, have given me a topic. This is the topic bridging Islam and bioscience, the question of an integrated curriculum. Um, I'm not a biologist, although I was a student of science. I learned a little bit of bioscience. I learned a little bit of Islam because my background originally was mathematics, so neither Islam nor bioscience. But mathematics taught me to be philosophical. So I'll speak to you today more as a philosopher. And a philosopher is someone who likes to meddle in other FS, papers disciplines. But I can assure you, I will not go into, I will meddle not in details. I think I try to justify why we philosophers like to intervene, to interfere, or to meddle in the discussions in other disciplines, because every discipline has a philosophy, has underlying philosophy. So we only deal with other disciplines insofar as we can say that, oh, you specialist, you want to meddle in philosophy? When I will meddle in yours. So basically that is it. Yeah. So now of course the topic I suppose is suggests that we need to bridge between two things, and these two things are Islam and bioscience, implying that somehow there's not been much interaction, interface between the two for some reason or other. But now we are trying to understand in a better way, to go deeper into this interface of Islam and bioscience in this particular case, but of course, more generally between Islam and science. So, what is Islam? I think it is only proper to ask. These are questions that we need to pose. Looks basic thing, yeah, but then there's some basic things we take for granted. And I would like to emphasize here that this is a meeting of academics or scholars, not academic, not at the lowest, not at the popular level. So when we use terms, we need to use those terms in a precise manner as science and mathematics demand us. So what is Islam? What is bioscience? So I'll give for a few minutes, let me address this. Now, the word Islam signifies several things. From the linguistic point of view, Islam means submission. That's its general meaning. You can submit to anything, to some superior authority, because it's just simply submission. You can submit to anything. But conceptually speaking, scripturally speaking, it is submission to Allah and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, in the Quran, basically explains what Islam is. Perhaps in the last verse revealed to the Prophet Muhammad SAW. Auzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim. Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati wa raditu lakumul Islam Madinah. There, the verse clearly states that Islam is the name of a religion, and it is Allah Himself who gives the name, not the Prophet, not a human being, but Allah Himself gives the name Islam as the name of the new religion. But then, in the famous Gabriel or Jibrail hadith, there is another meaning of Islam. Jibrail came to ask the Prophet question, and the Prophet answered, just refer to the three questions. What is Islam? What is Iman? What is Ihsan? Of course, when the most extensive part of the hadith, what are the signs of the last day. Right? Just the point just here, from this hadith, it is clear that Islam, the term Islam, refers not to the whole religion, but to a particular part of the religion, which is the 5 pillars of Islam, the outward aspect of Islam. Right? It is very interesting that the name of Islam takes from the name of that outward part of the religion. Something like, why do we call durian durian? Right? In other words, we go to the outer part of the durian with all the sounds. Duri. From the word duri, the sound, we have durian. It's not, we don't go into the esoteric part of the durian. No, it's not. Huh? So the same thing here. So these are the three meanings. So for my discussion now, okay, Islam refers to the whole knowledge content of the Quran, because that's what the hadith capital, the verse, the Quranic verse that I read meant. Okay. As for bioscience, it is the name of an academic discipline, the name of a science, right? A branch of knowledge, and something like in the Islamic tradition, Muslims is ilmu hayat, in other words, the science of life. I'll go into that, yeah. But the point here now, we want to bridge between two things, and those two things are bodies of knowledge. Islam as a body of knowledge, all kinds of knowledge, all layers of knowledge, all different levels of knowledge. And bioscience is another body of knowledge. So basically, you want to bridge the two. All right. What kind of bridge can be built between bioscience and Islam? There's a question. We want to build a bridge, all right? What kind of bridge? Since we are bridging between one body of knowledge called Islam and another body of knowledge called bioscience, then basically we are bridging two bodies of knowledge. Then the rational answer to that question is it must be an epistemic bridge. Bridge in the form of a bridge made up of ideas. Okay, go to the next slide. Was there such an epistemic bridge in existence before modern times? The answer is yes. And certainly in Islamic civilization, we do not count out other civilization, but certainly in Islamic civilization, from the 8th century, practically, okay, from, in fact, mainly when Islam became conscious of its own civilization, all right? So we have that epistemic bridge. But the philosophy of its bioscience, I'm sure it was by, the philosophy of its bioscience was different. Different from the philosophy of bioscience as we understand today. Well, there are many similarities, but there are many differences. So the epistemic structure of classical Islamic bioscience is different from that of modern bioscience. And very important aspect of that is what I call is issue of, in Islam, is soul biology versus evolutionary biology. That is basically what we have here in terms of comparison. Is there a need for integration? What is the integrating principle in bioscience? Well, there are two responses before us. One is Tawhidic epistemology, a very, very important integrating principle in Islamic civilization. And in modern times, in fact, it is evolutionary principle. Initially, just from the biology, the discipline of biology, but today, evolutionary principle becomes the integrating principle of all disciplines, of all the sciences. Everything is looked at from the perspective of evolution. That is change, basically, without permanence. There's no such thing as permanence. Everything is changing knowledge is changing, and that is the contention between Tawhidi epistemology, which accepts the idea of permanence, but also accepts the idea of change, but that change is understood in the light of permanence. Okay, let's get that. Who is the bridge builder? We want to build a bridge with Islam and bioscience. We need somebody to build the bridge. So who is that? From the Islamic point of view, the bridge builder is none other than we call epistemology, epistemologists. Some people complain, some very important people, Prof, don't you have a simpler term? Why is it? I can't even pronounce it. Epistemologist, you know? It's epistemology. I said, it's a problem. You go to Kuantan. You go to Sasmek. Yeah? Look at all the names of the disciplines, at all the branches of knowledge. What's the difference between epistemologists and epidemiologists? Why you don't complain with that term? We complain with epistemologists. Huh? And all the kind of whatever, yeah, very difficult to pronounce. Yeah. So we go to hospital, we meet doctors of all branches, and they're all Greek names. All Greek names. Yeah. So anyway, you have to get used. Certainly, during my rectorship, you have to get used to the term epistemology and epistemologist. All right, who is this epistemology? Yeah. To build epistemic bridges in the realm of ideas, we need epistemology. They are experts in knowledge organization, management, classification, application, and innovation and creation. That's some of the functions of the epistemology. You can call, since epistemology is a theory of knowledge, or vision of knowledge, so epistemology is someone, basically, who is a theorist of knowledge, or simply an expert in knowledge. Right? Now, in Arabic, the term used is ilmu ma'arif. Literally, it means the science of cognitions, the science of, it's the, basically the science of knowledge, yeah, but you have to acknowledge this the ain, but you also have ma'arifah, and the jama and the plural ma'arif. But this is not the ma'arifah of the Sufis. This is not the ma'arifah of the Sufis. It's simply the general use of the meaning, which means that the general meaning of arif or rafa, but again, this question, the term, rafa may refer to some case, the hukama, the wise man. But the point is, we want experts in knowledge, in activities pertaining to knowledge activities. So we can say that epistemologist is knowledge practitioner. Now, epistemologists in relation to epistemic bridges are analogous to architects and engineers in relation to physical bridges. Among the epistemologists are specialists who have the specialized knowledge to build links between Tawhidic epistemology and a particular science, such as bioscience, or one of its branches, like human biology. Those who deal with human biology, they will be able to build special bridges between the Tawhidi epistemology and that science. So I think we need this bridge builder. I can only touch very briefly here. We can discuss elsewhere. Now, how does the epistemic bridge look like? Right? How does it look like? this kind of two-level bridge. In America, it's called double-decker bridge. This two-level bridge. So, because we need this, so one bridge is a conceptual bridge, linking divine qualities studied in theology and natural qualities studied in bioscience. So, divine qualities therefore refer to the attributes of Allah, the names of Allah, symbolized by the 99 beautiful names of Allah, Al-Asma al-Husna. These are elements of Tawheed. We have to know this. According to many, many scholars, we must know, everyone must know this knowledge of Tawheed, because the purpose of human existence is to know Allah, to know God. And we can know Him in various aspects, but not to worry if we belong to different disciplines, because Allah is, God is merciful, compassionate, in the sense that we can know Him through many different names. And each different name of Allah has relevance to the subject matter of your own discipline, so that nobody can escape from having to deal with God. Now, just jump to here, I mentioned the word theology, and Professor Asim refers often to the question of theologian. I'm not talking about theologians here. Why? I can explain it to be. But theology. Because in Islamic civilization, theologians not understood in the same way as in the Western Christian tradition. In the West, we say theologian, you know. What do you mean? Because theology is the science of God. It's the knowledge, science of God. Theologian is one who is immersed in the science of God. But in Islamic tradition, there are many groups of scholars dealing with God. In other, the scholars, the Muslim scholars who study Allah, even, first of all, the fuqaha. Even the jurists, what they study? The law of Allah. The laws of Allah. Then the mutakallimun, the usually translated as theologian, but to be more specific, refers to dialectical theologians. All right? They also study God. The philosophers, they also study God. The Sufis also study God. So who are then the theologians in Islamic tradition? So in Islam, everybody basically is a potential theologian. We are all theologians insofar as we deal with Allah, which are relevant to our field of knowledge. So natural qualities in bioscience, it means in bioscience, let's talk biology, all right? We deal all the qualities. I skip that because I have another slide. So basically, the first bridge is it links divine qualities and the objects studied by bioscience. Now, the other one is the ethical bridge. The ethical bridge linking the divine law studied in the Sharia and its higher purposes, the maqasid al-Sharia, and applied bioscience. Basically, the issues of ethics. Ethics, that is the second bridge. Now, what know-how is needed? Right? What know-how is needed in order to build that bridge? I'm proposing here something which in fact, one American Muslim professor, Professor William Chittick, he used that word, God's self-disclosure. So I have already discussed this in a number of my articles, the importance of this. From the practical point of view, if you want to link between Islam and bioscience, we have to go to this principle. This principle is based on the Quran. It is based in the Quran. Now, GSD principle, God's self-disclosure, states that God discloses His attributes and qualities in creation in numerous ways and form, so that man may know Him. When Allah creates the universe, the real purpose, He wants to reveal Himself to that creation. When Allah reveals The Quran, he wants to reveal himself to us, meaning revealing his name. Yeah. So based on that, therefore, there are many self-disclosures, and therefore, for the bioscientists, there are particular self-disclosures that you can pay attention. Now, each self-disclosure, tajaliyah, is just tajalli, which refers to particular phenomena, is described in the Quran as a divine sign. Ayatullah, ayatullah. Yeah, there's the Latin vestigia Dei in the Latin word. Basically, God reveals himself through so many signs. And I can ask the question, what does bioscience study? It studies certain sets of divine signs of Ayatullah. The objects and phenomena studied by science are viewed differently through the lens of Tawhidic theology. This is what the issue is. In other words, you are used, biologists today are used to studying about plants, about animals, about human beings, about the question of biological law, and so on. But when we look from the perspective of Tawhidi epistemology, we see the ants, the birds, the spiders, and so on, differently. All right. So these objects are not merely seen as scientific facts, but also cosmic qualities reflecting divine qualities. Now, what are the implications for bioscience curriculum? I just touched briefly because this is going to be in detail by Professor Qurashi, who is more expert on this than me. Right? The Tawhidi epistemology as integrative principle in bioscience. So I'm presenting. Basically, let's look at Tawhidi epistemology as integrative principle in bioscience. At the moment, what is the supreme integrative principle in bioscience? This is the evolutionary principle, the doctrine of evolution. The nature of Tawhidi epistemology dictates the need for the integration of ideas, concepts, principles, theories, and laws. We have all these in our textbooks, so very different concepts, ideas, and so on, all right? But we need integration. When we carry out research project, we collect data, different kinds of data. Those data needs to be interpreted and integrated, and IIUN, one of the mission is integration. Yeah, but integration by itself, without referring to any other principle, is meaningless, because when we say integration, it's always integrating something into something else. So what are we integrating? We are integrating certain body of knowledge, but we integrate that into a broader. It must be into something broader, and this is where that evolutionary biologists collect data, interpret those data in the light of this evolutionary doctrine. But Muslim scientists can be collecting the same data, but they interpret those data different, maybe some same, but some differently. But certainly, we need the broader framework, the broader integrating principle, and it's nothing broader than Tawhidic the idea, Tawhidic epistemology as integrating factor. So in bioscience, for example, we have concepts of life, plant life, animal life, human life, biodiversity, dealing with species, different species, genus, and ummah. I mentioned the word ummah here, which is important, because in the Quran, the word ummah is also used to species, to animal species. In other words, the animals that walk on earth, the birds that fly, They are ummah like you. Ummamun amsa lukum. It's very interesting that the Quran call the the beast as ummah, right? Um, the ants as the ummah. In fact, every species is an ummah. This is very very for us to reflect on. Why the Quran calls animal species ummah just like you? Amsa lukum. Okay, that's it. Concluding remarks. But I just want how many can I just say? Oh, 5 minutes. Alhamdulillah. Okay. I just have to say that the essence of curriculum, in any discipline, but particularly true for bioscience, there is that every science has an epistemic structure. Every science comprising 4 fundamental elements. What are those elements? Number 1 is the subject matter of that, the mawdu'. So in other words, we must have a true science is one which has a very well defined subject matter. So we should ask ourselves, what is the subject matter of bioscience? And it is well defined in the sense that nothing is excluded from that bioscience that is proper to that particular discipline. Yeah. The one thing different between the Islamic tradition and the modern one, in a sense, is going down the top, from the bottom to the top. What's called the empirical approach, the Aristotelian empirical approach. You started from facts, and you go up, and then, right. In the case of Aristotle, finally reach God as well. From empirical study, you can reach God. But the other one is top down, which is the Platonic. This is the Platonic, the Plato's approach from metaphysics to physics. So basically, there are 2 approaches. You can go from physics to metaphysics, or you come down from metaphysics. So in the case of Islamic bioscience, it was able to include so many things without carrying out experiment, is because it's top bottom, based on the revealed data in the Quran. It's there. So in the sense that bioscience, we know roughly what it's going to study in terms of the general things. Now, the second thing is that every science must have assumptions. There must be assumptions that we believe are true, and then only we proceed to carry our studies. Every discipline have that, but this is where the difference in the case of Islamic biology, because you have the natural principle, you have the cosmological principle, you have the metaphysical principle. So we have assumption. And this assumption we accept as true, but you cannot be proved true in that discipline. We have to go to another higher discipline in order to show that those are true. The third element is methodology. Each discipline has its own methodology. There's no such thing as there is only one method, namely the scientific method. The Muslims use many different ways, avenues to knowledge. And finally, of course, the objective of that, the ahdaf, the goals of that science. So the immediate objective is how to explain the reality, or to understand the reality of underlying the things that we study. Basically, the study of the living organism, study of terrestrial life that exists here on planet Earth. So basically, I was just that. In other words, we cannot have a curriculum in anything without referring to this epistemic structure of that sign. So thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.